When you're having to do both sales and service, you're out there, you're responsible for getting new clients, bringing new people in and taking care of them and answering the phones and doing the emails and doing all the pieces of the puzzle that make the business float. That's whenever you've really found a bottleneck. And so again, startups, solve for this, figure out how to get past it. If you're already there, you're like me, you're deep into this and you're realizing, oh my goodness, my business is 100% reliant on me being there, wearing the hats. Let's go a little deeper and figure out how to do that. So if you're a scaling operator, you've got to not so much figure out the who and do what. You've already done that. You're already at capacity. You might have to figure out, where do we cut out? What do we eliminate? What do you say no to? See, saying no to something is saying yes to something else.
This is the All Thy Might podcast, a place where faith fuels business, conviction drives execution, and where builders commit to rise higher and higher. Each week, we raise the standard. We develop the leader. We build what lasts, not halfway, not half-hearted, but with all thy might.
All right, so today I want to talk about something that's kind of uncomfortable for me because in a lot of ways, I'm still living it. See, I'm a service-based entrepreneur. We even created the Excelsior Business Academy for helping other service-based entrepreneurs just like me that got into business, not for the sake of making money and being extremely profitable and building a massive enterprise or any of the other worldly narratives and worldly pursuits that are out there, but got into business because I was good at something. The Lord gave me the ability to do it, and I wanted to help other people. And what I have found is that most service-based businesses get started with that same construct in mind. So there's a person like myself, you're good at something, and you say, you know what? I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to work for me and the Lord, and that's the only way it's going to be. And I want to set my own hours, and I want to do this stuff. And we go out and we get into business, and then suddenly things start to go, and maybe we get some referrals, and we are generating some level of success around it. However, we decide that we're going to define success, but we're getting into it, and we realize, wow, I could maybe go further in this. I could scale this, so to speak, but when we really look in the mirror, we realize that we are both our greatest asset and our greatest liability all at the same time, because we might just so happen to be the biggest bottleneck that's in our business. And so where I want to start today is taking actually one step back and really look at, is the business that you're building truly durable and built for longevity, or is it a flash in the pan, kind of an idea that cannot operate without you? So if you're a startup, this is so applicable to you, because if you can solve for this issue before you ever hit the ground running, you will be light years, and I mean light years beyond where so many of us have begun. If I could have solved for this whenever I started my business 8 years ago, I would be in a much different position in place today. But I hope that if you're in startup mode, or you're in a scale and an operator type of a role where you're trying to increase operations and actually grow this into a possible, enterprise, so to speak, then you will have a lot to take from this podcast today too. And so either person there, wherever you are on their journey, my hope is that we can do this together and see what can come of it. So before we talk about building businesses, though, I really want to get something straight. Eternity is a bigger deal than is the success or lack thereof in your business. And I have to say that to you because I have to tell it to myself all of the time. The scripture verse that came up for me whenever I was thinking about sharing on this topic with you all was when Jesus was teaching in Matthew chapter 7, and he's talking about building our lives, or our buildings, if you will, on a solid foundation, so that when wind and rain and turmoil and everything comes, it will stand. And so Jesus is certainly not talking about entrepreneurship in this teaching, but he is talking about our position in eternity and what and where we're staking our claim. And so the most important thing is that we know who we are because of whose we are. And if we're building a business, we can apply those same principles into building something that truly lasts. See, Jesus was talking about our faith and our position in eternity and being able to go to heaven and all of these things by building our foundation on the truths of everything that he said. And there is so much wisdom in his words, and they apply in so many different aspects of life. And so what I want to talk about today is actually an Old Testament passage of Proverbs chapter 9. And it talks about building wisdom, doing the wise thing in our life is building on a really solid foundation. And so I think there's a lot of correlation between those two scriptures, but the principles here are universal. Anything that we build without obedience to what the Lord is calling us towards, it's going to collapse under pressure. It's not going to last. It's not going to stand the test of time. Jesus, he starts in Matthew 7:24 with that teaching, and he says, therefore, and the therefore is actually for what he was talking about before, which is saying like, if you would do the things that I teach you to do, then you're going to see the kingdom of heaven. You're going to make it through, and eternity, it starts right now. See, we have to be building this business. We have to be building our lives around the truths that Jesus shared with us. And so the other verse, this comes out of Psalms, and it says, unless the Lord builds the house, the laborers build in vain. And I don't want you or me or anyone else forever or in eternity that loves the Lord to be building something that he's given us a vision for, but we do it all in vain. Because if we get to the end of our life and all that we have done and all that we have accomplished is we built a quote unquote successful business, I'm afraid that we're going to be at that point in our life and have a lot of regrets. I talk about all the time ordering our life in a hierarchy of priority. We say faith, health, family, and then wealth. And if you can get this right, if we can put faith at the forefront of everything that we're doing, put our relationship with Jesus first and foremost, and build a business built on a really solid structural foundation of systems and processes and things that allow that business to run whether you're in it or not, then I think you're on the right path and the path that we would all define as a level of success that we would like to achieve. So as I said, I'm right here along with you. I'm building this along with you, not only in my own service-based businesses, but with the Excelsior Business Academy. We want this to be a place where people can come together. We can have a mastermind type of an effect through not only these podcasts, but our online group community where we can say, hey, we're all trying to do this thing. How do we do it better? How do we build systems? How do we grow and scale a service-based business with or without the operator in it? And so I want to get into the nitty-gritty of that. I want to talk about some foundational pillars. Again, Proverbs chapter 9, I love this because it says, wisdom builds her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. And this concept, 7 is the concept of completion and wholeness, and might say as far as perfection, as far as the Hebrew text goes. And so the 7 pillars here, I don't have 7 for you today, but I've got 4 of them that I think are really crucial to seeing your business move in the direction that you would like for it to move. But Proverbs is talking about that because we have to, just as Jesus was teaching, build our lives and our businesses on a really solid foundation. If the foundation of our business is just us, the operators, doing all of the tasks, like wearing all of the hats, you'll hear people say, it's not built on a good foundation. It's a foundation of sand, and turmoil is going to come, and life's going to throw burdens on you, and you're going to want to take a vacation. And guess what? The whole building might come crumbling down in your absence. And none of us service-based entrepreneurs and professionals got into business to be, I don't know if this is the right word, it seems harsh, but I would say imprisoned by the businesses we built. See, it's not all that different from a 9-to-5 job if when you leave your work, the revenue stops flowing. Now, we're not chasing profit. Money is not our Lord. None of that is what I'm talking about here today. But what I'm saying is building something that's sustainable in a way that you can really, your life and your family, your loved ones, your health, all of those things can still benefit. This isn't hustle culture. This isn't grind it out. This isn't work harder. It's true surrendership, and it's true yielding to what the Lord would have for your life. If he's called you to it, I know it's going to be successful. We just have to figure out how do we walk through that, and how do we lead others so that they have the ability to have the safety and the security of an amazing job and an amazing life that you're able to provide for them because you step forth in the faith for the thing that the Lord has laid on you. So again, I would say I think it'd be a huge waste if we get to the end of our life and all we ever did was pursue more and more and more. The whole point is that we want to build something that matters in terms of eternal existence, not just a flash in the pan type of a business. And so I've got 4 pillars, like I said today. Pillar number 1 is clarity. 2 is the economics and stewardship of the financial aspects of things. 3 is a scoreboard, measuring what truly matters. And 4 is systems and structure. We got to have a process for everything that we do. So let's get into it today. Let's go a little bit deeper on each of these pillars. And so that whether you're, again, a startup business and you're just figuring this out, learn from this, build it right from the beginning. Or if you're like me, 7, 8, 10, 20 years into business, and you're looking to scale an operation, but you're at the helm of it and you have to wear all of the hats, let's back up a little bit, put some of these things in place so that you can go to that next level that the Lord is leading you to. So pillar number 1. So if you're a startup, this is where you need to be thinking around. Who do you serve? What problem do you solve? And what transformations do you deliver? I call this the who, and do what method. You need to be able to say clearly and concisely, this is who I am, this is who I help, and this is how I help them do it. Or this is what I help them achieve, right? So the who, and do what statement. You need one of these. At Excelsior Business Academy, we help service-based entrepreneurs build profitable and durable businesses that allow them to pursue the freedoms that they seek in their faith, their family, and their future. See, you need a statement like that. You need to be able to say clearly and concisely who you're trying to help. I am also a service-based entrepreneur. I got into this because I wanted to help people. I got into it really deep and realized that I was overwhelmed, overworked, running tired, and I couldn't figure out the scalability aspect of how do I grow this thing where it's not just dependent on me both being sales and service. When you're having to do both sales and service, you're out there, you're responsible for getting new clients, bringing new people in and taking care of them and answering the phones and doing the emails and doing all the pieces of the puzzle that make the business float. That's whenever you've really found a bottleneck. And so again, startups, solve for this, figure out how to get past it. Let's go deeper into this. If you're already there, you're like me, you're deep into this and you're realizing, oh my goodness, my business is 100% reliant on me being there, wearing the hats. Let's go a little deeper and figure out how to do that. So if you're a scaling operator, you've got to not so much figure out the who and do what, you've already done that. You're already at capacity. You might have to figure out, where do we cut out? What do we eliminate? What do you say no to? See, saying no to something is saying yes to something else. And saying yes to all the right things is actually saying no to other ones. And so one of the best things I think for this to do is what I call a delegation matrix. I don't call it this. Somebody taught it to me and now I'm teaching it to you. But what a delegation matrix is you look at 4 categories of things. So you look all throughout your day and say, and just take your pen and write it down, set a timer for every 30 minutes or so and write down all the things that you did in that last 30 minutes. You look at them. Every time you do something is another opportunity to do this. You don't have to do it just time-based. You just say, hey, I did this. Hey, I did that. Hey, I took a new client call. Hey, I sold this. Hey, I did that. Whatever it looks like for you in your business, you write down that you did that. So 1, you're going to be able to go back and create a system around that thing. But 2, you go through that at the end of the week and you say, look at all these things that I did in my business. Which of them, and here's the 4 categories.
Hey, let's pause here for a moment. If you're listening to this and realizing you need structure, not just more effort, we built something to help with that. Whether you want to implement it yourself, build inside a community, or have a team walk alongside you, there is a clear starting point. Go to excelsiorbusinessacademy.com/start and we'll help you choose the right path. All right, let's get back into it.
Which of them do I love and I'm really good at? Those are the ones that we probably want to never delegate, okay? Second category, which ones do I love, but if I'm being really honest, I'm not that great at it. Some of y'all, you love tweaking and playing around with your website or your funnel or some marketing aspect of things, but you might enjoy it, but it's not the best use of your time because you're not the best person at it. That's a delegatable task, but it's not as important as delegating the next 2, because the next 2 are you hate it, but you're good at it, okay? That one might be delegatable, but it's not as important as the next one, which is you hate it and you're bad at it. If you've got 5, 6, 10 things that you hate and you're really bad at them, that is your first hire, is you find the person that is good at that thing. And if it's not your first hire, you already have employees, then you find other people and you have your other employees do the same delegation matrix and you walk through things and you figure out, wait, who's doing jobs that they don't want to do and they need somebody else to do them for them, somebody to be better at them, or who's doing jobs that they're really good at, but they don't really like all of these types of things. So you might be in that place and position in business where you're the only person and you're doing all these things. Well, now you're actually creating margin by bringing on somebody in a payroll type position. And now you might be confused by that because I said margin, but increasing your fixed overhead. And that's true. But I'm telling you, your ability to delegate those types of tasks that you really don't like to do and you're not very good at, but you found somebody that loves to do them and they're really good at them, like that's the greatest gift you could ever have, because now you have more time to do the thing for your business that is the primary revenue driver. See, we make a mistake all the time as service-based business owners to think that I have to hire somebody that is immediately equatable to increased revenue. So in my world as a chiropractor, this would be like hiring an associate doctor. Okay. So I have to be able to think like, main way we make money in our business is to actually provide services and adjust people. And so my first thought for hiring would be, oh, I got to go find somebody else that can do more of what I do. And while that's not a bad concept to think about, I'm telling you, there's other things in your business, whether you're a chiropractor, a massage therapist, a dentist. Dentists actually do a pretty good job of this. Lawyers, counselors, anything like this. There's all these things as service-based entrepreneurs that you're providing your service. You need more ability and more time to do that. So the first hire is not go find another one of me. It's actually find a person to do all the things in your business that you don't actually love to do. And they're the reason that you didn't get into business. If you can find somebody to do those things for you, now you're on the right track, right? And so the other thing is figuring out and knowing, are there services that are diluting your margin? Okay, so if you're in this, you're scaling operator, is there someone out there that just does things better than you? So maybe the next step. So you've started to delegate the things that aren't direct revenue drivers in your business. This is an amazing first step, but maybe you're beyond that point. And so what you could start to think about, and y'all, if you're just starting out in business and you solve for this, and you can figure out a way to solve for this from the start, you are like way light years ahead of the rest of us. But there just might be, hear me out, there just might be somebody that does what you do better than you, and they would love nothing more than to work for you. And I know that's a weird concept to think about, but it hit me one day that I said, I'm wouldn't do what I do if I didn't think I was good at it, okay? But I think some of us get it in our mind that we think we're the only ones that can do what we do. And it hit me one day and I realized that, you know what? There might be somebody that's better at the clinical side of what I do than even I am. And so my heart's desire is, what if I could figure out a way to create enough margin in my business where I could go and attract the highest quality talent at the thing that you do that exists out there, bring them into your business, and you primarily focus on finding the people that are out there searching for the solution that they provide, gift them, if you will, put those people in front of your amazing service provider, and make sure that you've got margin enough to be able to not only pay them, but to run the business and pay the bills and all this kind of stuff. And then you're building this business void of your presence. Okay. And I'm not saying that's everybody, right? We all still have our thing. It's what we enjoy and it's what we love to do. But if this is for that scaling operator that is looking for a solution into how do I make maybe not an exit from the company, but I would like to go on vacation for a couple of weeks out of the year, right? And so if that resonates with you, I'm telling you, that's the key. And if it might not be a tomorrow fix, like you might have to figure out, how do I create more margin? Do I need to open up some more hours? Do I need to increase my prices? There's a lot of nuance type things that are in that equation. But I'm telling you, if you're established in it and you're in that point, you've got to figure out, where can I create margin so I can go and do that type of a step? Because if you can do that step and you bring somebody on your team that's even better at what you do than you are, your people are going to be over the moon about your expansion and what you're doing and where you're going. Because that's one of the hardest things about being a service-based provider is it's kind of, you're good at what you do and people want you to be the one that services them, right? And so that's just not the capacity that we all have. There's only so many hours in a day, but this is something that we can solve with. So economics and stewardship, okay? So we got to know our numbers to be able to do that. We can't just look at the bank account and say, yep, here we go. So one of the best books that I ever heard on this is Mike Michalowicz's Profit First, okay? This changed my whole life. Guys, I'm embarrassed to tell you that for the majority of the beginning of my business, I never thought to put profit in my overhead. Okay. And now when I say that out loud, it doesn't hit the amount of profoundness that I felt in my heart and in my mind when I realized, like, oh my goodness, I forgot to account for profit. When I was doing projections, when I was thinking about starting my business, all I was doing was like, okay, here's this payment, here's that payment, this is how much I could pay myself. And a W-2 salary is not what I'm talking about when I'm saying profitable margins. I'm saying that was like, can I put a margin in there that says, hey, we've got to make X dollars per month to pay the bills? Yes. And then it's X plus 25, 35%. That's margin. That's your metric. That's what you're going after. Because if you can do that, now you've already, in a way, kind of funded your future desires of growth if they should come. And so whenever I was starting up, I didn't do this. I just looked at the bottom, like the top line, I guess the bottom line, and said, how much top line revenue do I need to make just to meet that metric? And I'm telling you, I operated in business for years that way. And it was so revolutionary to me when I read the book Profit First, because the concept of taking your profit first was still so foreign to me. But when I realized, it was like just calculating for profit when we start a business. And I don't think this happens in like product-based businesses. I don't think that's a big deal, but some of y'all might be making fun of me right now on the other side. It's like, what were you doing? I truly had such a heart for helping people, and I knew I had this gift and ability to help them. All I ever looked at was, okay, well, that's what it takes to be able to run the business. Okay, I can do that. But I never put that desired profit margin in place. And as a service-based provider, me, you, we do this thing primarily to help people and provide the service that we have. We have to take a little bit more of that business mind to this so that it is not something that we're building that becomes our own prison. And it's not something that we're building that degrades our health or our time with our family, right? We want to do this. Mother Teresa, y'all hear me say this all the time, but she has this quote: if you want to change the world, you go home and love your family. Your family does not need you at the office from sun up till midnight every single day, grinding it out. We have to yield our businesses to the plan of God's sovereignty and let Him move and bless it however He sees fit. And so I'm telling y'all, build this in from the get-go. You'll do it right. And so stewarding that profit is what's so important. We have to know numbers to do that. So you got to know, yes, what costs are. You got to know where leaks are in the bucket, so to speak, where things are going out, where stuff's coming in. As a service-based provider, you know that your service is the primary driver of revenue. Now you can add products and you can kind of layer some things in, and we'll get into that here in just a second. But what we know to be true is that your service is the main revenue driver, but there's things that drive that, like number of leads, what we call closing rate, continuity rate. There's all of these things that we need to be able to track. And this is pillar number 3. We call it the scoreboard. So are you tracking and keeping score? I know we all, if you're like me, grew up in the age of, participation trophies, but that's not what this is about. Okay. Business isn't about participation trophies. Business is about ultimately winning. And so you need to know what the score is to know whether or not you're winning or not. And I don't mean that in a, again, money-focused, ill-guided type of a concept. It's just that you're going to suffer and your family's going to suffer if we can't get this right. All right, so pillar 3 is the scoreboard. Some people will say the scorecard, depending on what you're looking at. But we know that your service that you're providing is the main driver of the revenue, but we need to know what's driving those people in. So you got to know your leads. You got to know how many appointments you're booking or services you're actually scheduling. And how many of those people are showing up? What are you closing towards? How much revenue was collected off of those services? Do you have a continuity offer? Are people continuing on with you after your initial service that you provided? Is there some way for them to go on in business with you, or is this a one and done, flash in the pan kind of a thing? And then what's the lifetime value of a client? So if you know some of these metrics, or if some of that feels way out off base, anything like that, message me. We can talk about it. We can look through some of the metrics of your business or figure out ways that you can actually solve for this. But we've got to know what the scoreboard is telling us, right? We said it a second ago. It's worth saying again that we're in this to win. Winning is going to look different for everyone. You have to define that on the front end and then keep score along the way to know where you are and where you are where you need to be improving things along your journey. So the scoreboard is super important, and stewardship, without measuring this, that's not really what we're after, right? So if you know the numbers, you can make adjustments accordingly. If you don't know the numbers, you're guessing at best, and you really realize that faithfulness is measured in obedience. Okay, it's not just blind faith. We're not just going to run at this because we feel good about one thing one day and another. We have to know what the metrics and the numbers are telling us. Okay, so the last thing is actually figuring and solving for the structured framework that defeats the bottleneck problem in your business. Okay, the bottleneck in every, at least the primary bottleneck in every service-based business, is that the servicer is also the visionary and every hat wearer. So if you're starting up, figure out how to solve for it now. If you're trying to scale, this is what you have to solve for if you're going to reach that next level in business that you want to get to. Okay. Nearly every single service-based entrepreneur gets into business to help people with the service that they provide. That's a noble cause, but it's not going to be the thing that gets us to the next level. If you don't know what your capacity ceiling is, this is going to be a major issue for you. Okay. So revenue ceiling, or your capacity ceiling, is your time times your price. Okay. So take how long it takes you to provide a particular service and then what you charge for that. Some of you might be like me. You provide pretty well one singular service. I'm a chiropractor. I adjust people. I check their spines. I adjust them. We know that takes an amount of time, and we know it costs X amount of dollars. If you look at that in your business and that number's not what you want it to be, we've got to go back to the drawing board. We either have to cut down on time or increase in price, right? But at the end of the day, there's only so many hours in the day. You don't want to be doing your service in a way where you never see your family, you never are able to do any other things, you're never able to take a vacation, anything like that. You have to look at it and say, okay, where are the metrics and what are the numbers I want to be at? And then again, going back to, I've been both the rainmaker and the technician, okay? I've built things that depended too much on me, and I want to help you guys not do the same thing. So if you're gifted at a service, it's really hard to let go of it, but don't let your identity get wrapped up in you providing that service. Like, you might be the only person that has the vision for what your business could become. And if you're so tied up in all of your hours are only in providing that business, you're only working in the business, not on the business, that is not what I believe God gave you the vision for. He didn't call you to be the permanent bottleneck in the mission itself. So last couple things here. We're getting close to wrapping up, y'all, but there's 4 stages of a service maturity, a service-based professional's maturity. Okay, first and foremost, the first level is the doer. This is what I call the technician oftentimes. So you're the one that's providing the service, okay? Step 2 becomes a supported doer. So this is a technician. They're out in the field. They're providing service. Maybe they got some admin help. That's an amazing thing because, let's be honest, none of us like the admin side of anything that we have to do. So that's an amazing first thing, first hire to have. You need that support. The reality is most of us never make it out of 1 or 2. Okay, number 3 is a leader. If you want to go to the next level, you have to be able to lead your team and other technicians that do what you do, and hopefully they do it even better than you, in a system of doing things the way that you do them. In our world, we call it the Excelsior way, okay? There is multiple ways to do everything, but there is only one way to do anything in your business, and that has to be true. You cannot reproduce magic, okay? If somebody came and they looked at me and they said, oh, Dr. Ryan's way of doing things, it's like he's a magician. Okay, cool. How do I teach them? Hey, go be magical, right? Like, what is that? No, we have to have a tried and true system and process for every single thing. And this is the hardest leap to make. 2 to 3. So you've got doer or technician, the supported doer or supported technician, to leader. So from 2 to 3, that is the hardest jump to make. But then from leader, if we do this right, if we have systems, processes for every single thing that we do, then you can move into the ownership role. And that's where so many of us want to be. And if that's you, let's work on how to get there. So number one, couple paths forward. Number one, you got to be able to buy back time. Okay. So this is where that delegation matrix comes in massively importantly. So this is where that delegation matrix comes in a big way. All right. So remember, if you hate it and you're bad at it, delegate it. If you hate it and you're good at it, you might have to hold on to that one a little bit longer until you've built enough margin with that, the person that comes in to do the things that you hate and you're bad at. Next, love it and bad at it. Okay, I understand. That actually might be the second thing that you should delegate, because if you're bad at it, is it really serving you and your future clients? And then lastly, love it and great at it. Let's find a way to help you do more of that all day long, every day. Okay. And for some of you, you might be in a position where you realize the thing that you love and you're really good at more than anything is being that visionary role for your business and being that leader and that owner that actually teaches and empowers other people to do the services that you once did, but no longer do. Okay. So another thing, number two, productize the service. Many of us have services and we sell them as services. I think you need to sell them like it's a product. If you thought of it like that, it could start to look totally different, because people are not buying your service. They're buying the outcome of your service. If I call somebody to work on my air conditioning unit, an HVAC technician, they provide me a service, but I don't care, to know the ins and outs of what the service is. I just want the outcome. I want it to work. It wasn't blowing cold air. I needed to blow cold air. People will buy the outcome, right? It's the same thing. If you're a hairstylist, if you're a chiropractor, if you're a massage therapist, a lawyer, things of that nature, you have to build enough trust with someone and say, I hear and see what you have going on. I know how to fix it. This is the product. Okay. This is the service. This is the thing that we sell. Here's what it costs, and this is what you get, and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, you have to be able to delegate that process to other people. So it has to be a reproducible process. Again, it can't be magic. You can't say, just kind of do a couple of things, and then guess what? This is the outcome we get. No, we know that when this is the case, when this is showing up, this is how we solve for that, right? And so that's a really one. We could do an entire podcast on creating systems around the thing in your business that you provide that creates it to be a true system. Again, we call it in our world, the Excelsior way. Okay. And then 3, strengthen your follow-up and the continuity program. Okay. So now you've got a product, you sold a product. Again, it could be a number of sessions. If you're a massage therapist, it could be a service. You could add extensions in if you're a stylist or anything like that. But then is there any kind of follow-up with that client? And are you making any kind of continuity offer? Okay, because many service-based professionals, we provide the service and then business is over. I'd be willing to bet that your service could be important for those people to continue to have, whether they realize it or not, right? And so you might have to empower them to make that choice to continue to work with you ongoing, right? So if you can find a way to do that in your business and have somebody else provide those services, you are on the golden road to where you want to get. So again, there's 3 paths forward. We want to buy back your time, do that delegation matrix, productize your service. Okay, I want you guys this week, I want you to figure out one system you can write out and create in your business. I don't care if it's as simple as how we answer the phone. I want the phone to be systemized inside of your business. And then lastly, start to think about how can we strengthen our ability to follow up with the leads and the people that are coming in through the system. Or is there a way, is there some sort of a breakdown in our communication with people? I hear that all the time from busy service-based professionals is they're like, well, I reached out to that place and they never got back to me, right? And then also your existing customers, is there a way that you're staying in touch and top of mind with them and providing them with solutions to work with you ongoing? See, if you're like me and your service works and it's great, people do less and less business with you the longer they know you. Well, this goes against every product-based business that exists in the world. If you're a fan of Apple, you have more and more Apple products the longer that you have an Apple product, okay? If you're a particular vehicle fan, you're a Ford guy or a Ford gal, or you like this or that kind of a car, or you like these types of Nike tennis shoes, anything like that, you buy more and more of that product the longer that you're aware of that product existing. Well, in service-based businesses, this gets flipped oftentimes. All right, so sometimes The bottleneck isn't capacity. That is a part of it. But this last point here that we've got to strengthen up our follow-up and our continuity programs is that it's not always that the bottleneck is capacity. Sometimes it's leaking out the bottom, not coming in, or not coming into the top, right? So, all right, so next week, we're going to talk about working from rest, okay? So remember that in Jesus's story and in his teaching, the storm came. It's coming, and it's coming in your business, okay? We want to make sure that your business is built to last and it's built on the solid foundation. And I think the best place to build off of that is rest. So join us next week. Can't wait to have you on. Let me know if there's any way that I could be helpful to you all. In the meantime, feel free to message us, reach out to us on any of the social media platforms. That's what we're here for. Let's build a profitable and durable business for you and your family's benefit for the future, and let's build it to last.
Raise the standard, build what lasts, and whatever your hand finds to do it with all thy might. If this is helping you build, leave a review and share it with someone who's serious about rising higher. We'll see you next week.